June 13th. I would call the meeting to order and ask everyone in attendance to rise and join us in singing O Canada. Thank you to the National Film Board of Canada for the images of our country and to our very own Grande Prairie Boys Choir for the audio. Before I get started, you'll notice that Council is wearing our finest clothing tonight, a little bit more casual than usual, but this is all to help promote the Municipal Government Day activities that will be happening later on this week on Wednesday. Certainly would invite the community to come down and join us for a free community barbecue and a celebration of municipal government, local government, and everything that our City of Grande Prairie employees do to make Grande Prairie a great place to live. So if anybody's wondering why the mayor showed up in a t-shirt, that's the explanation. You'll notice that our corporate services director has to maintain proper decorum at all times by city bylaw, and so he is not wearing a t-shirt, but a number of the other directors are able to get away with it. And then there's also Councillor Thiessen, who obviously has his own sense of style and decorum at all times. So I will move on to the adoption of the previous council meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to adopt that set of minutes? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'll move the minutes of the City Council meeting held Monday, May 30th, 2016 be approved.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Did anyone note any errors or omissions that we had to change in those minutes before we adopt them? I don't see anybody ringing in, so I will call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. And then we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Council, we had two additional items coming from our Council Committee of the Whole today. Administration, I believe, put some pages out in front of each council member station, but the recommendation was to add item 9.6.1, a tender with regard to downtown rehabilitation, and 9.6.2, a motion with respect to the Grande Prairie and District SPCA. So I would look for a motion to adopt the agenda with those two additions. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Gill. I move that Council adopt the agenda as presented with two additions with 9.6.1 and 9.6.2.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Any discussion or debate on the agenda? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Please vote. Thank you. And the agenda is adopted. So this brings us to the delegation portion of our agenda. This is an opportunity that we have at every regular City Council meeting for any community member to come and address Council on any community-related matter, as long as it isn't the subject of a public hearing. And we have a couple of public hearings on our agenda tonight. So if you're here to address Council on any community-related matter other than that, this would be your time to speak. So is there anybody else? I know that we've got actually a relatively full gallery tonight. And if there's anybody that wished to address Council on any community matter, this would be the time. So I don't see anybody coming forward. So this, I'll just ask one last time. This is the one opportunity during our council agenda where you get a chance to address council. So if there's anybody that wanted to do that tonight, I would invite you to come forward. Okay. That's fine. We did have one that's listed on our agenda. I believe that one was actually canceled with respect to a presentation on the Northern Gateway. And so I don't believe we have any delegations tonight. So we'll close the delegation portion of our agenda and we'll move on into public hearings. And I would call to order the public hearing for Bylaw C 1260-57, an amendment to the DC2A district. I would call that to order and look to administration for an introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Sorry, we're just having difficulties with the PowerPoint on the computer right now. If you'd like, I'll just proceed without the images.
Sure, we'll have to work that way, and I don't know if administration can continue to work to see if it's possible to get up the images while you're doing your presentation. That might become important, but go ahead, please.
Sure. So, bylaw amendment C-1260-57 is an amendment to Direct Control District 2A. The district was originally created in 2005 in order to accommodate the redevelopment of an existing building into an office use. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get the presentation to work at the same time. The district also accommodated a future addition to the building that would have a large garage component as well as additional offices. The applicant has come in with a revised site plan where the garage component is removed and the addition is solely for office uses. In addition, they create a large parking lot in the rear of the building. On top of those changes, an amendment will be made. A proposed amendment will change the landscaping requirements to remove clauses that require the mandatory trees and shrubs to be provided behind the building. This way they can be put along 102nd Street as well as 108th Avenue. Administration thought that this would be a better place for them as they are high visibility locations and they would be hidden behind the building otherwise. Here we go. All right. Sorry about that. So we'll just, yeah. So, oh, we get the, okay. Well, we've got it working, but, okay. I'm just going to keep going. So in addition to removing the clauses that would require the trees and shrubs to be provided behind the building, we've also removed a restriction on the number of employees. The removal of the number of employees clause was because it's not feasible for a development officer to enforce this. An officer is not going to go to the building and count the number of employees. So we leave it to the site restrictions in the land use bylaw, such as the required number of parking stalls based on office square footage to take care of site-specific concerns that a development officer has authority over. In addition to this, we have proposed a clause specifying that the development officer will be the development authority for this district. For direct control districts, the default for the development authority is city council. So in this case, the district contains the site plans as well as the elevations for the building, which would be exactly the same as they are in the development permit application. And so without designating the development officer as the development authority, the same plans and elevations would need to be shown to the Community Growth Committee and then to council for approval. So this would make the process for acquiring a development permit significantly longer. And administration thought that since council is reviewing the application at this point and reviewing the site plans as well as the elevations, that it would be appropriate to delegate the development officer as the development authority for this district. In summary, the amendment removes the garage component of the addition and changes it to a strictly office space as well as additional rear parking. It removes the clauses that require trees and shrubs to be planted behind the building, allowing them to be placed in high visibility areas. It removes the clause for the restricting the number of employees to 16 because it's not feasible for development officers to enforce. and it designates the development officer as a development authority for this district. And administration recommends that council support this amendment.
Thank you very much. Any questions for administration? Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a quick question. I know I hear about can't enforce or move number of employees, but how many parking stalls? So there's 16 employees. There's going to be added space where the garage could be parking. It's going to be offices. So how many parking stalls for a number of employees working in the building?
Through the mayor, they are providing 19 parking stalls based on the square footage of the office space as well as the type of district they are in. They would require 10, but they're providing 19.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for administration? Councillor Tarrant?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Reid, would you just elaborate on the landscaping? If I heard you correctly, there was perimeter landscaping already required along 108th and some along the back rear axis. And you're proposing, or part of the proposal is that the rear landscaping be added in addition to the landscaping that's already on 108th?
Rose?
Thank you. To the mayor. Yes, so the clause specified that a certain number of the required trees and shrubs be planted behind the building. We removed that clause so that it was up to the applicant and the designer to choose the location of the trees. We thought that that would give them greater flexibility to provide them in high visibility areas and areas where they thought that they would have more of an impact.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Tarrant. Councillor Rice?
I suspect, since the employee's entrance is at the rear of the building, removing the requirement for shrubs and trees back there also makes it safer. Is that was that taken into consideration?
Mr. DeRoche?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it was not a specific consideration of this in terms of crime prevention through environmental design. It may be preferable in terms of providing greater lighting and visibility from other streets and other areas.
Okay, I don't see anybody else in the queue with questions. We will have another opportunity for council to ask questions of administration. So I will open the presentation submission portion of the public hearing, and I'd ask anyone here to present in support of this proposed change. Anyone to present in support of this proposed change? Welcome. Just bend one of those microphones down so it points towards you. I'm not quite sure where they're up like that. And introduce yourself and welcome. You've seen how this all works before. Maybe just bend it so that the microphone there you go, is pointing towards you. There you go. Lovely. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Given, council members, and administration. My name is Lori Thiessen. I'm here representing Barstow and Associates Engineering, and I'm here to speak in favor of the proposed amendment.
Ms. Thiessen, and just, I'm sorry, if you can just sort of pull it up so it's pointing towards your face, and that way it'll pick you up better, because they won't be able to hear you on television.
Thank you. Is that better?
It's better.
Okay. The original wording of this DC2 zone was very, very specific, and it couldn't accommodate the owner's needs for expansion of his business, and that is why we have come forward with the request for the amendment at this point in time. We've worked with the client and with the city we've worked with development, permitting, and engineering to come up with a design that meets all the city land use bylaw requirements that would be typical for this type of use, and to provide the client with the office space that they need to expand their business. The addition utilizes that empty lot that's sitting there, and it does provide office space, a boardroom, an east entrance for staff and visitors, and provides additional parking. Overall, I believe that this addition blends in very well with the existing building. It meshes together with it very well and sits very comfortably in the neighborhood. I'm sorry we can't pull anything up. I do have, I don't know if it would help.
Absolutely what I was just going to ask, if you have a site plan and you put it on the plastic that's in front of you, we can probably pick it up with the overhead camera, and that'll give council some context. Well, the public also would be able to see it this way too. So if you would just sort of orientate us, that'd be helpful.
This is 102nd Street, and this is 108th Avenue. The existing building sits on the corner right here, and this is the empty lot that sits beside it. Down here is, I believe, a medical clinic. The intersection is here with an apartment building right here. Some of the features that we have done here is kept all of the additional parking to the back of the site. There are no proposed approaches off of 102nd or off of 108th. All the access will be through the existing rear lane. The site is already well landscaped and well maintained, but there will be an addition of some trees and shrubs, and they would likely be placed where they would enhance the site the most. I can show you also, there is the floor plan. There we go. This is the existing building as it sits. We're adding on some offices and a boardroom and the rear entrance from the parking back here. The existing entrance off of 102nd Street will remain as is. And I have some elevation views and 3D views that also show the roof line is being maintained, and the windows, the finishes, everything is kept consistent with what is there now. It will sit very, very nicely in that neighborhood. You'll drive by and go, oh, gee, did they change something there? It doesn't look quite like I remember, but I can't tell. And our intent was to have it to fit into the neighborhood very nicely in that way. And even though the lot and the facility has been very well maintained, it's an empty lot, and it's really nice to see some development be able to go ahead in this. The DC, as it is written right now, does not permit this kind of development, and we think that this will still meet the intent of the land use bylaw and also provide for that additional expansion for the owner. It is my request that you approve this amendment, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. We may have some questions for you. I see Councillor Rice.
I just want to confirm that I'm not reading this map wrong. If you go back to your...
You're looking for the site plan, Councillor Rice? That one?
Yeah, that one. Is this, I believe, up at the top is 108th Avenue.
Yes, that's 108th.
Along that way is 102nd.
102nd is down here.
Is the rear entrance that's there now being maintained and a new one the rear entrance to the building?
The rear entrance to the building, there is an existing rear entrance right here.
And that's being maintained?
That's being maintained, and a new entrance is being added here.
Oh. Okay.
I can show you on the floor plan.
Okay.
What we have here is the existing entrance. You can see the door right there. That is the existing entrance. And here there'll be a new vestibule. The existing vestibule is right here, a new vestibule here. So anybody coming in either from off of the sidewalk on the front or a client parking in the parking lot and coming in through the back, they all end up at the reception desk.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Rice. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'm just wondering about the stalls. There's 19 and so many employees. Is this more of a in the field kind of a work office, or do they have a major clients that come to this area?
What we've provided for with the 19 stalls is we've tried to get one parking stall for each employee and 3 additional parking stalls for, how did we have that? I'm not quite remembering the exact count. The concern was that each employee be able to park in the parking lots because no street parking is permitted with this, and there's no street parking permitted for any clients as well. Also, the Alberta Building Code requires that we provide 2 handicap stalls for this parking lot. Now, those handicap stalls cannot be used by staff unless the staff themselves has a handicap sticker. That adds 2 extra stalls that can only be used by handicap, which increases the count because we still needed each staff to have a parking stall.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Kind of, yeah. No, I was wondering if it's more outside-based job for the employee.
No, it's insurance and
In-house.
Yes. So all of the staff will be in-house all of the time, and clients will be coming periodically.
Any other questions for the delegation? I don't see anybody else with any questions. Thanks very much for presenting, and thanks for orienting us with the site plan. Much appreciated. So was there anybody else here that wished to speak in support or in favor of this application? Is there anybody else here to speak in favor of the application? I don't see anybody else coming forward. Was there anybody here to speak in opposition to the application for these amendments? Is there anybody else? Was there anybody here to speak in opposition or against the proposed amendments? I don't see anybody coming forward, so I'll ask last time if there's anybody from the public that wished to speak to this application. Again, not seeing anyone. I'll ask council if they have any last rounds of questions for administration. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I'm just wondering that by staff, was there adjacent landowners notified of the changes, or did you follow that protocol, or did you have to? Or?
Mr. DeRoche?
Through the mayor. Yes, adjacent property owners were notified through a mail out. A sign was also placed on the property. I did speak with one adjacent, possibly a tenant, while I was doing my site visit, and he spoke to me in favor of the application. And the only other contact I had was just an inquiry about the project. There was nothing otherwise opposing the application. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Thiessen?
Yeah, if there are no further questions for administration, I'd be prepared to make a motion.
Sure, yeah, and you can do that after I close the public hearing. And just make sure that there are no other council members that had any questions for administration. Seeing none, then I would close the public hearing and move on to business arising. Councillor Thiessen. Oh, look, we've got a presentation. Oh, that's the next one.
Okay. All right, we're there. Okay, so I would move that council give first reading to bylaw C-1260-57 being an amendment to the land use bylaw.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. So there's no discussion or debate on first reading. I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I would move that council give second reading to bylaw C-1260-57.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Any discussion or debate on second reading? I don't see any council members ringing in, so I will call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I would move that council have third reading for bylaw C-1260-57.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. So my little explanatory note as usual. So this is a motion to have third and final reading of this proposed change here tonight. If this motion carries, then we can finish this business. If the motion doesn't carry, then it would have to come back at a subsequent or a future council meeting. And in order for it to be carried tonight, this motion has to pass unanimously. So is there any discussion or debate about the merits of having third and final reading here tonight? I don't see any council members ringing in, so I'll call for the vote. That motion does carry, so we can have third reading. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you again, Mayor Gibbon. I would move that council give third reading to bylaw C-1260-57, being an amendment to the land use bylaw.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Any discussion or debate on third and final reading? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries, and that concludes all of our business with respect to that land use district amendment. We'll move on to public hearing for item 6.2, the land use bylaw amendment C-1260-56, rezoning from manufactured home community to urban reserve. I'd call this public hearing to order and look to administration for an introduction. We saw it up there once.
Okay, just making sure it's working.
There we go.
Here we go. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councillors. Administration received a zoning application for a site located in the east end of the city. And if we look at the map, the subject site is approximately 10.5 hectares in area, and it is located to the east of the city. It is located in the southwest corner of an existing quarter section. Within this quarter section, there are already 2 mobile home parks, one to the north and one to the northeast. Also, there are existing neighborhoods. The closest 2 will be Cobblestone East and Cakeside. These 2 neighborhoods located to the west and southwest of the subject site are mainly characterized by single detached units. However, there are some multifamily too within these 2 neighborhoods. It is also worth mentioning that the subject site is part of the Meadowview ASB, Area Structure Plan, which was adopted when the site was still located in the county. According to the ASP, the site was marked back then for a mobile home park. And we have 2 pictures of the site. This one here is looking to the southeast. The second one is looking northwest, and it shows part of one of the mobile home parks, mainly the one located in the northwest part of the quarter section. So the application is for a zoning from MHC, which stands for Manufactured Home Community, to UR, which is Urban Reserve. The existing land use district, MHC, permits comprehensively designed manufactured home communities, whereas the proposed land use district, namely the UR district, protects land intended for future urban uses from premature subdivision and development. So why is the need for the application? The owners are applying for both rezoning and subdivision at the same time. Servicing and upgrades are required at the subdivision stage. The owners would like to split the ownership of the quarter section through subdivision without triggering the associated servicing and upgrades, as there are no immediate or short-term plans for developing the site. Rezoning the subject site to the urban reserve, the UR district, before approving the proposed subdivision was a solution agreed on by administration and the owners to facilitate the subdivision without triggering the required improvement and upgrades at this stage. Because UR is a zone that doesn't allow for development, and any future development will require applying again for a zoning that is suitable for whatever the vision might be. I would like to mention here before going to the recommendation that the rezoning itself does not constitute a triggering event, because this was, as I mentioned before, it was part of the county, the newly annexed land, which we call World Service Area, and only the rezoning for UR is exempt from being a triggering event. However, the subdivision itself that will follow is considered a triggering event in terms of taxing. So in conclusion, administration recommends that council give the readings to bylaw C-1260-56 regarding rezoning from MHC to UR. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. At this point, are there any questions for administration? Council, any questions for administration? I just had one. Waleed, is the landowner aware of the property tax implications of the subdivision? You were very clear that the rezoning will not trigger it, but is the property owner aware of the loss of tax protection with respect to subdivision?
Back to you, Mr. Mayor. We had this administration had discussion with the applicant, and we notified the applicant that this is the case, and we also went back to our lawyer, the one that was working on the oral service area, to make sure that we understood exactly what it meant. and our lawyer, she confirmed that the same thing. And I believe just before coming that we as administration received an email from the applicant. He wished to talk to the council about this.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I don't see any other questions for administration. Is there anyone here tonight to speak in support of this application? Welcome. You've seen the process once. I know you're familiar with it, but welcome, and please introduce yourself for recording secretary.
Randy Glenn with Helix. Mayor, councillors, good evening. We started this application actually in the county just prior to annexation actually rolling into the city. So it's been a little bit of a process getting to this point, but and really it's just it's more or less an estate planning issue. We want the owner would like to subdivide off a piece of a parcel to spin off. So the main issue with administration is, you know, once we create a title, if it has an MHC zoning, then anybody can come forward with an application to develop. So this was deemed to be a pretty good way to protect the city and still allow for future engineering and planning on that parcel. So with respect to the taxes, I think we were more concerned about the implication of them increasing when the zoning was actually a down zoning. Like in this case, we're going from MHC, which we can actually develop something, and we're going to urban reserve, which is by definition a holding property. But I understand tonight that it's not actually the zoning that's going to trigger the taxes, it's the subdivision. So that's new. We understood it was the zoning that was going to trigger it. So, but I think it's fine. We want to proceed with it at any rate.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions for the delegation? So I guess I would just have one. So again, I think you stated this, but just to confirm. So this time the landowner is doing this more for financial structuring reasons rather than an intent for short-term development.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions for the delegation? I don't see anybody in the queue.
That's easy.
That doesn't happen very often, does it? Right. Okay, yeah, I don't see any other questions to the delegation. Thanks for making the time to be here tonight and present to council. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in support of this application for rezoning? Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in favor or in support of this application? Okay, seeing none, is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition or opposed to this application? Is there anybody who wishes to speak against this application? Okay. You see that I do that. It's kind of it's a regular thing. We want to make sure everybody that might wish to speak has full opportunity to do that. I don't see anybody coming forward. As one last opportunity, is there anyone who wishes to speak to this rezoning application? If not, council, any last questions for administration? Okay, seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing and I'll look to business arising. Councillor Rice.
I move first reading of Bylaw C 1260-56.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. No discussion or debate on first reading. I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. I see administration in the queue. Is there somebody from administration? Okay, no. No worries. Thank you. Councillor Rice, if you'd like to just ring in again, though, Councillor Rice. I cleared the queue to skip. There you go.
I move second reading of Bylaw C 1260-56.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. So a motion for second reading. Any discussion or debate, Council? I don't see anybody ringing in. I will call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Rice.
I move that we have third reading of Bylaw C 1260-56.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Everybody heard my explanation on the previous item like this. I won't belabor the point other than to say that for this motion to carry, it must pass unanimously. Any discussion or debate on having third reading? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Rice.
I move third reading of Bylaw C 1260-56.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any discussion or debate on third and final reading of this rezoning? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. And that motion carries. I believe that handles all of our public hearing business. We have no items of unfinished business and no reports, so that will take us straight into committee business, starting with item 9.1, a set of Council Committee of the Whole minutes from May 30th. Councillor Redmond.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move the Council receive the minutes of the Council Committee of the Whole meeting held Monday, May 30th, 2016 as presented. Just for those watching, this was a meeting where the discussion of the Spca financial strategies and that the outcome of that meeting, the motion from that meeting actually went to the last council, and the motion was to strike a committee of city and county to meet and bring back some recommendations. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any other discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Seeing nothing, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries, and that would move us to the Community Growth Committee meeting from May 31st. Councillor Clayton, I think that's your set of minutes.
I would move that Council accept the Community Growth minutes as presented from May 31st, 2016.
Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton. Any errors or omissions, things that we need to catch or change before we adopt them?
Not that I see, no.
Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton. I'll call for the vote. That motion carries. Councillor Clayton, did you have any business?
Moving on under reports, we had the Environmental Responsibility Policy 215 and Environmental Risk Management Policy 216. I see Ms. Gardner is here if anybody had questions regarding this, but I would move that that the recommendation was that Council approve as presented.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton. Approve as presented the Policy 215 and Risk Management Policy 216. Any discussion or debate?
Just if I could speak to it a bit, it's just the policy touches pollution prevention as well as continual improvement in the environment by setting and reviewing environmental objectives and targets, as well as meeting or exceeding applicable environmental legal requirements to which the policy is accountable. And the second policy, number 216, is regarding risk management. The reason for the policy for an implementation of environmental management system, a regulatory compliance assurance, and document control for the city to be able to deem necessary effective planning and operation and control of processes relating to environmental aspects.
Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton. Any discussion or debate on those two policies? One that I would highlight for Council is just a recognition that at the committee level it was discussed that there may be an implication for additional staff time with respect to these policies and implementation of them. And so I think Council should acknowledge or be aware that it's likely that passing these policies it would be likely that we would see potentially a request for additional staff resources at some point in the future. But to be determined, I think, once administration sees the workload that would come from the policies. So I just think fair to acknowledge that at this point so that when administration shows up at budget time, we can say, well, we knew that that was coming. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That motion carries. Councillor Clayton.
Next up, do you want to do all the business first before the...
I think you have 9.2.2. Is that correct?
Okay. Perfect. So, I've lost myself. Sorry, one sec here. There was a recommendation from committee that Council approve administration to provide a letter in support for the extension of the sunset clause for the construction of the Northern Gateway Pipeline project.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton. Any discussion or debate on this motion? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I will be voting for this, but I am, for the individuals that live within the city, there'd be, I think, 5,000 residents, MD and Greenview, that's all Crown land, which is running on, but it's Crown land by the people. And with the taxation is divvied out in linear assessment, they get to control the majority of the money, and we don't see hardly anything of this. So I'm supporting the project for Albertans, but as for the citizens of Grand Prairie, we ain't going to see very much after it's built.
Thanks, Councillor McLean. Any other discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries with one opposed. Councillor Clayton, was there anything else in that meeting that you wanted to highlight?
Just one highlight in regards.
And you'll just have to turn your microphone
Presentation for, in regards to the Hillside neighborhood redevelopment. There was many options presented to committee, and committee had directed administration to bring back a report outlining the potential budget for an area redevelopment plan for the Hillside neighborhood, as well suspend any additional consultation in regards to parking issues until council had given further direction. And one other piece, there was a development permit in regards to a car wash, vehicle wash minor, that was approved as well.
Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton.
Yep, that was it.
That was all. So we'll move on to the Community Living Committee meeting from May 31st. Councillor Tarrant, is that your set of minutes?
Thank you, Mayor Kevin. I'll move that we adopt the Community Living Committee meeting minutes held on May 31st.
Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Any errors or omissions that we need to catch? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Please vote. That motion carries. Anything you want to highlight from that set of minutes, Councillor Tarrant?
There's just one item was in regards to our family-friendly focus. It was something that came out of Council's strategic planning a couple of years ago after first being elected, and Council had a desire to make sure that everything that the city does in terms of its facilities and services is family-friendly, and so administration presented a report giving an inventory of a number of the things that happens everywhere, from providing change tables and city facilities to making sure that strollers can fit indoors, and a whole bunch of hosts of different things that are being done, and they presented a number of items that they think could be done in addition. And so the committee asked that another report be brought back with a prioritized list, giving some idea of what budget items, things that we could refer to budget. And so we'll be looking forward to that.
Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. We'll move on to 9.4, the Community Safety Committee meeting from June 7th. Councillor Thiessen, I know that that's your meeting, but you weren't there, but the the deputy chair wasn't there, so you're going to handle that set of minutes for us, right?
That's a good thing I do my reading, eh? Oh, Councillor Rice. Well, I can do it. Yeah, I did the reading. I wasn't part of the discussions, and I guess I am the chair. So then I would move that Council receive the minutes of the Community Safety Committee meeting held on Tuesday, June 7th, 2016, as presented.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen and Councillor Rice. We know if there's anything substantive from the meeting that you'll certainly make sure to inform us. I don't have any question of that. Any discussion or debate on the set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Thiessen.
We got a couple of motions coming out of that meeting. The first one being 9.4.1, the natural gas franchise agreement. And I would move that council approve the renewal of the natural gas franchise agreement with ATCO Gas and Pipelines with the amendment to strike the words "or amalgamation" from section 16 and giving first reading to Bylaw C-1346. Yeah. I think Councillor Rice is saying that the first is approving the agreement and the change to the agreement, and then the first reading of the bylaw would be a separate motion. Well, that sounds good. I was just reading it because I wasn't really there. Thank you for filling me in, Councillor Rice.
Okay, so we have a motion that council approve the renewal of the natural gas franchise agreement with ATCO Gas and Pipelines with the amendment striking out the words "or amalgamation" from section 16. And then we'd move on to the first reading. Any discussion or debate on that motion? Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I wasn't able to attend the meeting, so I wonder if someone would be able to explain to me why amalgamation was struck from the agreement.
Sure. There was a little bit of and I might as well speak to it since I spoke to it at the committee meeting. In the template agreement that is used by AUMA across the province and was the basis for this agreement, it suggests that the franchise agreement, or the right to have a franchise, would immediately transfer over any area that the city annexed, so any area that came into the city limits from the county, or through amalgamation. At the committee meeting, I just raised the issue that amalgamation is a fairly significant difference between annexation. The county doesn't currently have a franchise agreement, and I suggested that it might be presumptuous to in advance of an amalgamation suggests that the city's position would be the one that would take precedence. And so just was an intent to build a little bit more flexibility rather than have a predetermined outcome in the potential of a future amalgamation.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or debate? Questions or comments? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. That motion carries. Councillor Thiessen, would you give that first reading?
Well, technically, I already did, but I'll do it one more time. I would move that Council give first reading to Bylaw C-1346, the Natural Gas Franchise Agreement. Even though I wasn't a part of the discussion, I have been a part of previous discussions. So just speaking to this, this agreement is representative of the good work done between our administration and between ATCO Gas. We found the needs. It fits the needs for both, and it was based on a combination of the AUMA template for best practices and the clauses in our previous agreements as well. So all in all, it's solid. It's airtight. Vote for it.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Discussion debate, Councillor Rice.
I just thought maybe council should understand why only first reading tonight. And I know Mr. Galante is eager to answer that. It has to do with having to get approvals, and legally it has to be done this way and come back. But I think Mr. Galante could explain that very well. There is a reason why it's only first reading.
Sure. Director Galante, do you want to speak to the first reading issue?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is correct. The Alberta Utilities Commission protocol calls for approval from Council for first reading of this bylaw. Then there will be a joint submission between the city and ATCO Gas to the Alberta Utilities Commission. There is a period of advertisement and notifications on the paper and other means. And after hearing some opposition or not, depending the level of opposition, the Alberta Utilities Commission will approve the franchise agreement, will return the franchise agreement to the city and ATCO, and at that time we will go back to council for second and third reading of this bylaw, and the effective date of the new franchise agreement for the next 10 years will be the date that council passes third reading of the bylaw. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Director Galante. Any other discussion or debate, questions or comments? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote on first reading. Please vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Thiessen, I think you've still got some work there.
Yeah, I got a little bit of work. I would move that Council approve the Northwest Alberta Emergency Resource Agreement. Speaking to this motion, it's on the table. It is an emergency resource agreement, and it allows for quicker deployment of emergency resources to areas affected and gives clear accountability for command and financial resources. This agreement, if passed tonight, will directly benefit the city in the event of any major catastrophe, such as a flood or a major wildfire.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I just wanted some more information, I guess, from administration. This doesn't proceed to some agreements we already have in place. Like, I think some of the talk on this was, what do you consider an emergency situation? And usually I think that was spoken of if the provincial government asks beforehand. But if I can get some information, because I think some of the individuals that brought this forward to the committee did not know all the information, and we were looking to have more information.
Sure. There was also, and so I'll ask Director Galante to respond to that, but there was also, Councillor McLean, some discussion, and the committee gave administration some direction to come back with some policy recommendations on how to apply this within our area. But Director Galante, do you want to speak to any of the other facets of that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If there is a mutual aid agreement in place between the city and other municipalities, or as we have here, approximately 17 or 18 members of this agreement already signed, the mutual aid agreement will take precedence. Okay, so this is not going to overrule existing agreements. However, if there is nothing in place, this particular document will set the rates that is based on cost recovery in order to provide rapid deployment in an eventual emergency situation. Just as a point of interest, this morning, County Council approved as well this document. So in addition to the municipalities and municipal districts and towns you have under stakeholder engagement on the report, you have to add the County of Grand Prairie as well.
Thanks very much. And so just going for the minutes, Councillor McLean, the other motion that was made was that the committee directed administration bring back a report providing policy recommendations on the application of this Northwest Alberta Emergency Resource Agreement within our local area. The intent being that administration would give some policy advice on how the one portion of the agreement that says that a requested municipality can decline to provide service, how we might sort of apply that in our local area. As council knows, we don't currently have a mutual aid agreement with the County of Grande Prairie, and so these were the kind of questions that were being asked. We asked administration to bring forward recommendations on how we would operationalize this agreement, this new agreement, within our local area, and so that's something that we would expect to see back at a future committee meeting.
Well, I'm glad that a lot of this was answered about pre-agreements, because I do know we have 70 full-time fire department individuals, and some other areas, because they're smaller, are volunteer in that. So we may be asked with our borough force, and depending on burning and fires, we've seen it this year. So it is important to know where we stand.
Thanks, Councillor McLean. Any other discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Thiessen or Councillor Rice, anything else that you wanted to highlight from that set of minutes? Anything else from that meeting?
Well, yeah, you know, I wasn't there, and first off, I'd like to highlight my council mates, Councillor Rice and Mayor Given, for filling in the blanks, but of their previous motions. But there was a couple other topics that were covered, all referrals from our last council meeting. One was on signage for safety of pedestrians and children exiting the Care and Back Alley property. That was moved to the next meeting, as well as the subject of backyard chickens, as well as moved to the next Community Safety Committee meeting. And then the paving of rear lanes to the cairn, which was brought up by Councillor McLean to my right here. The committee decided that they were looking for a report back to present to committee from administration on the alternatives and the costs associated with that. And they will report back to committee at a future date. And I think that was it. Awesome.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. So we'll move on to Corporate Services Committee meeting from June 7th. Councillor Redmond.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move council receive the minutes of the Corporate Services Committee meeting held Tuesday, June 7th, 2016 as presented.
Thanks very much, Councillor Redmond. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Redmond.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move council award tender T41-432-16 for the 2016 Playground Replacement Program to the Sweetenham Group, Inc., the playground guys, in the amount of $377,498.02, exclusive of GST, as the highest evaluated proponent meeting city specifications. This, the four parks, playgrounds that are being affected here are the North Patterson Park, now known as the Crokin Park, the Pinnacle Ridge Park, the Mountain View Park, which is also now the Mike Fadina Park, and Countryside South. The first three are playground life cycle replacements. The fourth is a playground upgrade.
Thanks very much, Councillor Redmond. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Redmond, anything else to highlight from that set of minutes?
Nothing else. That was the only agenda in our meeting. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Redmond. And so that will move us on to our added agenda items. The first was item 9.6.1 with respect to the Downtown Enhancement Program and reallocation of funds within the budget. Council members, I believe you should have a copy of that at your station if somebody would care to make a motion or introduce that for us. Councillor Redmond.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move council amend the capital budget to reallocate $1,200,000 of MSI funding from the Bear Creek Reservoir upgrades to the Downtown Rehabilitation Project.
Thanks very much, Councillor Redmond. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. you. That motion carries. Any further motions, Councillor Redmond?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Given, I would move Council Award Tender T.
Councillor Rice.
I will declare a conflict and leave the room. Sorry. Legally, I'm not in a conflict, but I think perceptually there may be. So I will declare a conflict and leave the room.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. So Councillor Rice will declare a conflict of interest with this agenda item, and we'll leave Council Chambers. Councillor Redmond, if you just care to turn on your microphone again there for us.
Sure will, thank you. I thought I'd done something wrong. I would move Council Award Tender T-20-552-16 to Wapiti Gravel Suppliers, a division of NPA Limited, in the amount of $18,225,030.86, exclusive of GST, as the lowest bid meeting city specifications.
Thanks very much, Councillor Redmond. Open for discussion and debate on the motion. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'm looking forward to voting for this as part of our strategic planning, and as well as going to help with density in our downtown core. And our downtown core is about to start falling apart. Some underground services, they're 70, 80 years old, clay tiles. So this is overdue, and I'm very proud of this one.
Thanks very much, Councillor McLean. I would recognize Councillor Thiessen.
Oh, you're going to speak to it too. I'll let you speak to it. I'm going to actually speak against this motion, largely because originally Council had budgeted $20 million for the 4 phases of this project. I've stood by my vote from the beginning, and this project is now double of what we originally anticipated it to be. I very much agree with you, Councillor McLean, and probably the rest of Council, that we need to update the infrastructure under the ground so that we can increase densities in our downtown. But I believe it's coming at too high a cost for all the pretty bells and whistles that we've added on in this project. So for all that, plus the fact that we're deferring money from another project that we're going to have to reallocate funding for in the near future, I cannot support this motion.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. I see Councillor Clayton in the queue, and maybe I'll just, rather than going last, Councillor Clayton, I'll go now. I'd speak in support of the motion. I want to acknowledge that when Council chose to include money in our budget for downtown enhancement, we included $20 million towards downtown enhancement as a whole, and at that time had no plan. It wasn't until, we had not a detailed plan at that point. Council had said we're willing to invest $20 million into our downtown. Subsequently, as we went through, initial high order cost estimates pegged this at approximately $5 million per phase. But as Council knows, as we've seen in other projects in the city, once you get to a further refined level of detailed design and engineering is where you ultimately get to know the money. So I'm very confident that this is within, this follows Council's commitment to spend $20 million in our downtown. I believe that not only does it replace vital infrastructure below ground, it also meets part of a comprehensive plan to improve the look of our downtown that is in line with our downtown grants that have been wildly successful. I think there's only so many things I'd use wildly successful for, but I think our downtown grant program has been. And so I think that this is part of a comprehensive program, as I said, where we're investing in the public areas, we're attracting investment in the private areas, and as a whole, that will lift the value of the downtown, will increase the activity down there, and ultimately will increase the property taxes that are paid by the properties as their values increase. So I would encourage Council to support this recommendation. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. And 2 other things, and wanted to speak to Chris Thiessen's about amount. I would say time is everything, and this time right now, prices are coming in a heck of a lot better to do work. If it was busy, it'd be even more. And the other thing I'd like to say is, well, I think it's very important is, I do believe that we eventually, you maybe say, oh, this is a big wish, but it's not. I believe that federal government is looking at certain projects out there, and I believe down the road we could be looking at some of the funding. And the last funding we had from the federal government was to move sewer from Claremont through our city for $6 million. So I do believe we're in for some funding for 70,000 residents. So I think it's a very good step forward.
Thanks, Councillor McLean. Councillor Tarrant.
I believe Councillor Clayton was in the queue there. No. Oh,
I don't pick and choose. Whoever's on the list is on the list.
Sorry. All right, thank you, Mayor Given. I will be speaking in favor of the tender and of this motion. I believe that this is a significant public infrastructure investment into our downtown, and that should go forward. As many of council and the public know, that there are pipes in the ground downtown that are 70, 80 years old clay pipes that absolutely need to be replaced, and any further deferral of this project just puts our downtown in jeopardy in terms of the underground subsurface infrastructure. So I think this is an investment that's absolutely needed in terms of the safety and in terms of the long-term sustainability of the downtown. And as we have said said many times throughout this process, is that now since we're going to be replacing this vital infrastructure underground, now it's time to gives us the opportunity to reimagine what the downtown could look like. And I think that this is going to be a wonderful addition to the downtown incentive program, that we could really enhance the downtown and make it something that really shines and is really a testament to the character of the city. For that reason, I will be supporting. I did want to respond to just a couple comments, made by Councillor Thiessen in regards to double the project, which is a bit of a over exaggeration. It's not double. It did come in over our high order estimates, but not to that magnitude. And in terms of the bells and whistles, the vast majority of the funding for this project is going towards very much needed underground infrastructure in terms of water pipelines and sewer pipes and stormwater management. And so there is a lot of hard costs that are being accounted for in this program, and it's not just some of the nicer things that we'll see on the surface. And with that, I encourage the rest of the council to support this project. I know I just should let the public know this has been a couple years in the making, and we've had significant consultations, and and there's been lots of things in the plan that I wasn't happy with and things I would have done different. But as 9 different votes, we came together and created the best plan that we could, and I'm happy to support it going forward.
Thanks, Councillor Tarrant. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much. I don't feel a need to defend my position. I think I already stated it. I don't think it's grossly over-exaggerated. I know that when we started out with this downtown rehabilitation plan, we didn't have a plan, but what we did want to do was to replace that aging infrastructure under the ground, recover it up. At least that was my impression in the initial phases of it, and go on forward from there. Since that time, you can follow the votes. I haven't really been in line with this project as it stands right now. Currently in the city of Grande Prairie, we are operating with a social housing deficit, a transit deficit, and we borrowed money that we could have used this MSI funding to complete 68th Avenue and the Bear Creek Pool. So with all those, I still can't change my mind. It's probably going to be a good project going forward, but with us using all the funding pretty much right now, it's going to be up to the next council to decide if they want to continue the work that we've done. And again, I still can't support it.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Any further discussion or debate? I don't see anybody in the queue, so I'll call for the vote. Please vote. Do my math, 7 votes. Okay, that's right. Thank you. That motion does carry. We can ask Councillor Rice to come back to the council chambers. I believe that was our 2 additional items, with respect to the downtown. We have our additional item 6.2, with respect to the recommendations with regard to regional animal care and the SPCA. Does anybody have that motion in front of them? Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move. Sorry, I'm just getting my sheet together here. Move that council approve the plan presented to conduct regional animal care operations on an interim 6-month basis. So in speaking to this, motion, during our committee meeting today, we were presented with some recommendations from administration, both city enforcement and county enforcement, in regards to the sort of short-term, interim plans for the care of the foster services and adoption services for animals that that will be coming to the regional pound, and as well as animals that are taken to the pound through enforcement officers. The suggestion was that that city and county enforcement could take over the services provided by the SPCA in order to help them, give them time to address their financial difficulties. And for that reason, I'm making this motion that we adopt the plan that was presented to us to go ahead with having this interim measure in place.
Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. I see that Mr. Manuel's here, and Chris, if you maybe just want to make your way to a microphone, I'll ask you to maybe provide some highlights operationally with respect to the plan. And just while you're doing that, I'd note for Council that earlier today, County Council passed a similar motion. This is a recommendation from the Joint City-County Committee that met last week. Administration developed this recommendation based on the advice from the committee. And so I believe County Council passed the same recommendation that we're viewing here tonight. So Mr. Manuel, if you just want to present some of what will the operation look like under this interim measure?
Certainly. So what we're looking at is maintaining a similar level of service to what the SPCA was providing in regard to animal shelter services. So with their present closure, there's a void in the community right now that we're looking to fill in the interim. What that's going to comprise of is really at the expiration of a holding period that a municipality would have for impounded animals, they become the municipality's property. In years past, what we've done is vast majority of which we've gifted to the SPCA, and then they've taken care of the adoption of the animal or the ultimate transfer to other societies or welfare organizations and so on. So what we're looking to do is we've made connections with various animal rescue organizations, other humane societies, and we've looked internally at our own capacities, and we believe that we have the existing capacity on an interim basis to provide shelter services for the animals that would have made their way to the SPCA. And as such, we're looking to begin an adoption process in which we'll help unite pets looking for homes with people that have homes to provide. So we plan on doing a very similar process. All the animals will be checked out by a veterinarian. There'll be a microchip, dewormed, given vaccinations. And initially, while we make our way through the spay and neutering process, we've got agreements in place to get a 50% off coupon for new owners to take to get the animals spayed and neutered. So really, we look at, with our existing staffing contingents and our existing facilities, we believe that we can increase our scope to provide those services.
Mr. Manuel, just a couple questions. One, with respect to rates for adoption, will they be increasing beyond the rates that SPCA was charging for adoption of animals?
So really what our priority is we're not looking to use the animals as a revenue item for us. We're really looking to find the most expedient way while still providing some value to the animals. We don't want them going out the door just because they're free. So there will be a fee associated, but that fee will be a fair bit lower than what had been charged previously.
Okay. And then the other one, can you just confirm, under this system, will there be any time limits on how long a healthy animal will be kept before it's euthanized, or will any healthy animals be euthanized under this proposed system?
So it's certainly not our intent to euthanize any healthy animals. We will probably be setting in place a time frame in which we'll try to adopt out the animals. After that time frame has expired, say after 6 to 8 weeks, for instance, we will work with other organizations such as the animal rescue societies or humane societies to find alternative housing for them where they may have a better chance at finding a placement.
Okay. So the change to the system will not see any animals in the city's care, any healthy animals in the city's, county's care euthanized because they've timed out.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Rice.
It seems to me also that further that Mr. Manuel made a commitment at the committee that he will continue working and looking at ways to assist the SPCA to get back up and running. Is that?
Councillor Rice, that is correct. So we've been engaged from the onset of this recent financial crisis with the SPCA, and they've worked with us to identify both as we've presented information preparing for this proposal tonight. They've been partners with us in providing information. We expect that the dialogue is going to continue. In fact, part of the recommendation that we've made for the next two items probably being brought up is a continuance of the joint county and city committee related to this issue. And I expect there'll be further dialogue and involvement with the SPCA at that level as well when we come back with further, asks for councils.
Thank you.
Just for council's awareness, there were two recommendations from the council committee of the whole were actually direction to administration, so they don't need to come to council tonight to direct administration to do that. But I'll just identify that the first motion from the committee today was to direct administration to continue to research the purchase of the shared garage between the SPCA building and the Regional Pound building, and bring back numbers to the joint council committee for consideration. And the other motion was to direct administration to continue research into the purchase of the Grande Prairie SPCA building and bring back information to that joint council committee for consideration. So both of those would be things that would be undertaken with the SPCA, and administration's advice was that those are potential ways that there could be a cash injection into the SPCA while potentially securing useful assets for the city-county. Those are not being decided tonight. That's something that further research and dialogue with the SPCA would have to happen with the County of Grande Prairie, and then would ultimately come back to City and County Council with any recommendations. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, just a quick question, Chris. I know there's going to be a 6-month, okay, let's see where we go from here. All the staff, that a lot of them were part-time, they're all going to be back doing the job. It might change the operations, but a lot of the staff are coming back. Was I correct by hearing that earlier? Or is it going to be different?
I don't know.
Councillor McLean, at this point, I can't say I've seen anything from the SPCA related to what their potential restructure would look like, and what their more short-term and long-term financial plan would be moving forward. So as far as the operation as we've presented it today would be, unfortunately, no, it doesn't have any involvement from the existing SPCA staff, in that the staff that we have in place presently are the ones that we foresee utilizing in the interim.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Mayor Kevin. Chris, could you speak to whether you've been in dialogue with the other animal rescues in the area, and what the sort of nature of that dialogue has been, or if it's been, and what the expectations of these organizations would be under this interim plan?
Oh, certainly. So we have, and not myself specifically, but the county, and more specifically our Regional Pound staff and our Regional Pound keeper, who's actually here tonight, Daryl. She's back there in the red jacket. She's done a great deal of work on this for us, and obviously it's been an adjustment from their regular day-to-day duties. But we have been in contact with like Bandage Paws and From the Woods and those groups locally, and expressed to them what some of our challenge may have been in the short term with the SPCA closing. And certainly they said they would do whatever they could to work with us to address those pieces. Now, at that point, we hadn't had discussion about us actually taking a role in the adoptions, which was clearly those rescue organizations don't have the capacity to take that on without us. So we do have to play a role in this right now. But our reach has actually extended past just the local region here. I mean, if we find ourselves where we have a capacity challenge and the rescues have a capacity challenge, our reach will go further to places such as Edmonton and some of those other municipalities.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks, Councillor Tarrant. I don't see anybody else in the queue. Any other questions for administration? Seeing none, I believe Councillor Tarrant made the motion, the recommendation. Is there any other discussion or debate? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Thanks very much, Mr. Manuel, for sticking around and providing that update for us and clarification on some of those points. I believe that handled all of our additional agenda items, and we had no items of correspondence this evening. We had no delegations that presented and no notices of motion, so that'd take us to council member reports. And I think we only have one of those tonight, unless I'm mistaken. We'll start with our first, though, anyhow. The Intercity Forum on Social Policy. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I'm glad I'm the only one tonight because I got a lot of stuff to cover. It was a busy meeting. So if I got the mic, oh, no.
Technically, I have an override button. Just FYI.
Look at that. I just cleared the room. Yes. This reminds me of the first time I spoke publicly, actually. Anyways, to let the people at home and council know, the Intercity Forum on Social Policy met, the committee meeting met on June 10th, this past Friday in Calgary. At that, we had several discussions on everything from PDD to AISH updates. We also had members from AUMA as well as the provincial government in the House giving us updates on new movements from the MGA. And AUMA actually gave me some briefing notes to present to council tonight just to inform everybody of the different things that they went over in the new legislation. One was payday loans legislation, which they had no problems with that. It's to help prevent predatory lending to vulnerable populations. So far, so good. It's good legislation. We were backed up by the City of Calgary, too, who had a big, strong hand in making that legislation move forward. We also had a review of the FCS regulatory regulations. And one thing that was interesting that came out of the conversation that we had and that the AMA had fears about is that under the new SCSS regulations, under the MGA, the province is looking at expanding the eligible uses of FCSS funding. So some of those outside of what FCS already does would include transportation, capital cost, domestic violence, affordable housing, recreation, and supports for youth. Now, there's concerns around the table that because this eligibility is so expanded, it would mean that FCSS dollars could go to such things as tax servicing and transportation, which would eat up a lot of those dollars really, really fast. So something for municipalities to be aware of, and AUMA has got our backs on that one because we don't want to see that funding go, considering that there is an 80-20 provincial municipality split, and most municipalities who responded to this survey are pretty much in the same boat as Grande Prairie, probably not as high, but they're not meeting that 80-20 requirement. There's also the cancellations of the grants in lieu of taxes that was reviewed. Just to let people at home and our administration and council know, unless they don't, the cancellation of the grants in lieu of taxes for the Alberta Social Housing Corporation means a net downloading of costs to municipalities of about $15 million per year, which is a significant cost. So currently AUMA is trying to get the province to reinstate this, and because there was no consultation done with municipalities of any size or even people, so it was just something that the government of Alberta just decided to do, which is really unfortunate. We knew that, but I didn't know the direct implications financially until I saw it in bold print, and it was fairly sad. Also, we talked about Municipal Government Act amendments to inclusionary zoning. All in all, we thought this could be a benefit because it allows municipalities to establish inclusive zonings for affordable and social housings in and around the municipalities that they're starting to subdivide. And under this proposed legislations, it would be at a net benefit to the community to avoid NIMBYism. So, and not my backyard peoples, but it would allow us to do that right from the onset. And then finally, there was a comment on basic income, and we got a briefing on basic income. And AMA is moving forward tepidly on this, and certain municipalities, such as Calgary, are being a little more vocal about establishing basic income standard. Now, typically this isn't handled by provinces, but in December 2015, the City of Kingston in Ontario was the first municipal council or elected body in Canada to endorse the concept of basic income. And since they've done that, the province of Ontario is committed to running a pilot project in one community in 2016, but no details of that have yet been released. It's also interesting to note that the Liberal Party of Canada voted in May of 2016 to develop a poverty reduction strategy aimed at providing a minimum guaranteed income. However, the catch on this is that the resolution that they pass does not commit the federal government to any course of action on this subject. So there's lots of discussion moving forward on basic income, which could be helpful, especially to eliminate the lines of poverty and how people view other people who maybe, don't dress as fancy as I do. But I get my suits for free, unlike most other people. And that was it from AUMA. Now, I also got a provincial update from John Thompson, the Executive Director of the Strategic Policy Initiatives under Human Resources. And currently, as has been announced, the government is discussing cost-sharing low-income transit passes and are moving forward with a pilot project underway in Edmonton and as well as Calgary. Now, when I asked if it was moving to places like Grande Prairie, who already have a low-income transit pass program, he said not yet, but they are going to consult with municipalities and look to do a rollout in 2017. What that looks like, he wasn't committing to in any way, shape, or form. He did say that there will be money returning to municipalities on the carbon tax levy, as well that the PDD Safety Standards Act was repealed just because they have more consultation to do, and the government's realized that. And minimum wage sessions are occurring. The province will be going cross-province from late June to September and looking for implementation sometime later this year or early 2017. And those are all the good highlights. So I don't know if I want to bore anybody with anything else, but thanks for listening.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Any other agencies, boards, or commissions, external reports? Okay, just want to check to make sure. So we'll start Council Roundtable with Councillor Redmond.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Three things I'd like to speak to. First of all, just want to recognize Councillor O'Toole and I attended the Youth Council year-end dinner. So kudos to our youth who are part of the council. It was not a very active year, and we saw some video and some advocacy efforts that they're involved in. So thank you to Tara and Kara, thank you, and for her leadership. The students were very, very impressed with her. The second is just a shout out to the Highland Games group. This is the 30th annual Highland Games, and I had the pleasure of bringing greetings on behalf of council. In the rain, but typically Scottish weather, the program carried on. And finally, just I'd like to, for the information of, I guess, those on council who did not attend FCM, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the 4 resolutions that we had the opportunity to vote on. First of all, the one homelessness partnering strategy really was an advocacy to update the 61 designated communities list, to increase funding and to broaden the criteria and flexibility in terms of needs in that area. And that passed. Second was called National Orange Shirt Day, which would be officially declare September 30th as a national day to honor residential school survivors, their families, and communities. So that was strongly supported. Third was the National Farmer Care Program, to work with the federal government to ask the federal government to work with the provinces and territories to develop and implement such a plan. That passed. And finally, the fourth one was the resolution with showing FCM support for Government of Canada's Paris Climate Agreement. Really, it supports the need to limit global temperatures increases to below 2 degrees, goal being 1.5 degrees, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So I thought that was useful information to our colleagues who weren't able to attend and be part of that resolution session. Thank you, Mayor Gibbon.
Thanks very much, Councillor Redmond. Councillor Rice.
Thank you. I'll just hit some different highlights. I, too, attended the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I found a session on rail safety. Very fascinating. They were really fairly brutal towards municipalities. They said that frequently little or no consideration is given to proximity to active rail lines and ensuring when they're looking at development and ensuring the incoming development is compatible. They said you can obtain the guidelines for new development in proximity to railway operations, which provides clear direction on how to implement safety berms, adequate setbacks, fencing to deter trespassing, proper noise and vibration impact reviews, among other things, which would avoid the proliferation of railway proximity issues that we hear about all the time. And they very strongly suggest that when traffic impact assessments are conducted for new developments, municipalities need to account for impacts at railway crossings in order to determine whether crossing safety needs to be addressed. So it was quite interesting, certainly a different slant than I had heard before. And I attended a luncheon with Sean Finn, who is the Vice President of CN Corporate Services, which, again, was very interesting. He provided me with some information about AskRail. And AskRail is a mobile app that provides real-time railcar information. And I will turn this over to Mr. Galante for staff to follow up on. I also attended the opening of the Cairn Pharmacy. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I'm going to get to the FCM stuff. I do want to add to one of the resolutions, because there's a cool story that came out of it for the National Orange Shirt Day resolution. On September 30th, that was typically the day that the residential school attendees were picked up and taken away to their schools to not see their family again for several months. Now, on one of these days, September 30th, a little girl was wearing an orange shirt, and it was her first new shirt that she had ever received that she could remember. And when she got to the school, they forced her to take it off, and she never saw it again. And somehow this story got back to the people who presented it. So I asked, because I was like, okay, National Orange Shirt Day, hopefully the NDP don't take this as their own, but why orange? And then I got that good story. So I wanted to say, on the shirt it says, "Every child matters." I was talking with Angela Moss-Sutherland, because I was wearing it at the Inner City Forum on social policy meeting this past Friday, and she said, "I think I want to take the lead on this." I was like, well, you could buy a bunch of shirts, or you could just promote it, and we'll probably save a little more money. So I think we are too going to join in the Orange Shirt Parade. Now, the things that I do want to touch on is on the 9th of June, I was in Edmonton for Interagency Council on Housing and Homelessness, and we had discussions with a couple ministers, Minister Irfan Sabir with Human Resources, as well as the Minister of Seniors and Housing, Ms. Laurie Sigurdsson. The conversations were really excellent in regards to housing and homelessness, because one of their big messages, what the council was bringing to them, was we need more integration between the ministries, because housing affects a lot more ministries. We're talking finance, we're talking health. It's not just seniors and housing and human resources. And we need more focus on prevention. We don't have a cross-province prevention system. To which, especially Minister Sabir, he said prevention is his focus. He says he's not a big fan of rent supplements, so if he can, keep people housed and not have to help them out in the long run. He said he's also in favor of I guess, a regular standard wage for everybody, a natural basic income. And he said his focus is on prevention. Minister Sigurdsson, if you don't know this about her, she worked in the social services field before, and she's very supportive of the housing need and is very well aware of it. Although when asked about the commitments of new dollars to social housing projects, even though it was announced that it was $1.2 million, I think it's important to note that only $256 million of that $1.2 billion was actually new monies, which is unfortunate, because the council previously, with our recommendations to the government, had asked for a $1.2 billion endowment fund where we could just build social housing units off of the interest that we collected over time. Finally, yes, I was at the FCM conference with my councilmates Radburn, Rice, and McLean, and I'm not going to go on and on about it, but I did attend a few sessions that were quite interesting. Asset management planning, impacts on the 2016 budget, with Mayor Don Iverson and Adam Vaughan as the panelists. Adam Vaughan, the MP, currently in charge of infrastructure. So lots of talk on transit, lots of talk on municipality, lots of talk on basic income. In fact, there was a good discussion there. I had a list of things to do, and I managed to do them. I accidentally crashed Justin Trudeau's private media scrum. Check, off the list. I got to dance in the Pride Parade with the Mayor of Winnipeg and enlisted Councillor McLean with me, which there's pictures of us kissing on our cell phone on the head. So check, that was fun. Got on CBC through that, check. I didn't plan that, but hey, it was good. Met lots of friends and shared ideas from Grande Prairie, what we're doing, listening to what other municipalities are doing as well. I managed to meet Elizabeth May, give her a hug and a kiss, and have a short discussion on pipelines, as well as building refineries in Alberta rather than building pipelines to coast and having jobs for now but not later. And then, you know, it always tends to happen with my fancy apparel, but I managed to dress up in alignment with the decor of the gala for the end of the evening. It was all yellow, and so was I, and lots of kudos all around. I couldn't bat the people away from me coming up to the table fast enough. It was a good time, had by all. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Councillor McLean. You're going to have to turn your microphone on, though.
Sorry about that, Mayor Given. It was one of the better ones. I've never been in the city of Winnipeg. A couple things I'll speak to before you finish off on it. The Prime Minister showed up. First year he was Prime Minister, he showed up and spoke to the FCM, which is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, mayors, councillors throughout the country. The last Prime Minister that was Prime Minister for 9.5 years never showed up once while he was Prime Minister. So that's just going to speak right there of the difference that's happening now in our country. The other thing I'll speak to is phase 2 of the money being allocated for infrastructure, which is very important because I believe all our directors know this, is that it's going to be a $38 billion phase. Of course, big cities are in there with their hands. Of course, there's millions of people that live in there. But I do believe we're going to be working very hard because we do deserve something for being Northwest, 70,000 individuals. And the other thing I was saying to Councillor Thiessen, I said, I really want to see the Pride Parade. And so we went outside, and I said, love to know where the route is. And right outside the building, well, all of a sudden the parade comes. And there's Mayor Nenshi, Mayor Iverson, and the Mayor of Winnipeg, Brian, I can't remember his Bowman. And why I'm going to speak to this, we walked almost 3/4 of the parade route, but at the end of it, there was a few of us left, and the mayors of the city and a few councillors, and the Mayor Bowman of Winnipeg took us in the back behind the legislature, where the Golden Boys on top of the pointing to the north and the wheat in his hand, and with the Riel statue, and spoke very pointedly of his city. And they have an extremely, extremely strong mayor now. And I think Winnipeg's in very good hands. And to finish off, I think it was a very good conference, and I think the city of Grande Prairie was well attended there throughout.
Thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Councillor Logan.
3 items. First was I had the pleasure of spending a long couple of hours coffee with Scott McAlpine, who was in Grande Prairie for a couple of days. He was started off as a lecturer at Grande Prairie Regional College, became a professor, became a dean, and then Douglas College in BC stole him from us. But he looks very trim and ready to get into more trouble, and it was just really nice to see him. The second thing, I attended the official opening of the drugstore in the Cairn and the Boulevard on 102nd Street. Very impressive. It's a completely different concept for a pharmacy, and if you'd like to follow up on what that means, drop around and see it. And I also set up my own private tour to go and see the HIV North building. They've been in there for just about between 6 and 7 months. They've got some space that they still haven't utilized, but they've got plans for it. And it's a space that's going to mean good things for the programs that are happening there. So take a look at it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Logan. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a few things to report that haven't been already mentioned. I had an opportunity to help out on Tim Hortons Camp Day on June 1st, which is an opportunity to raise money for the camps that are across Canada and send children to camp, as well as I attended the GPRC College Classic, which is an annual fundraiser for the GPRC Foundation. The weather held out this year, so that was great. And one last thing, myself with Councillor Redmond and Councillor O'Toole attended a James Morrison Band fundraiser with the proceeds to the Regional Hospital Foundation in the Amy Monroe Memorial Craft Room. It was a great special evening and was happy to attend that. And that's all I have to report.
Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton. Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a couple items here. Councillor Clayton and I attended the Odyssey and Sunrise House sponsorship recognition event, the precursor to their golf tournament, and it was great to see everybody out to support two great organizations in town here. Also was able to attend the joint City-County Recreation Committee, where we were presented with the Recreation Master Plan, some of the strategic initiatives that were coming out of that, and that are going to be presented to the public in the coming weeks. So it was good to see the great work that the committee and consultants have done over the last year or so, and glad to see it finally coming to fruition.
Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. I'll just highlight a couple of things. On Thursday the 9th, I had an opportunity to attend and bring greetings on behalf of Council and the City to the Grande Prairie Friendship Center's graduating class of their Aboriginal Head Start program. This is a daycare program that is run out of the Friendship Center. A huge number of children there who are having an opportunity to have daycare setting where they also learn First Nations and Indigenous culture as well. And so it was a great way to see that First Nations culture and heritage being kept alive in our community and really being instilled from the get-go with future generations. And so it was a pleasure to be able to be there. They actually they were in the college, the Douglas J. Cardinal Theater at the college, and it was full. There were so many parents, so many children. It was just a fantastic event to see, and so it was really great to see. On Friday the 10th, I was in Edmonton for an AUMA Municipal Governance Committee meeting. The work of the committee centered pretty much exclusively around the proposed changes to the Municipal Government Act and some of the text around the regulations with respect to some of the changes that were introduced last year at this time. And so that will be work that obviously will be ongoing with Council. The other thing that I wanted to highlight was, another reminder. I think Councillor O'Toole is our chair of Municipal Government Day Committee this year, and so since he's not here, I'll take the opportunity to remind the public that rain or shine, that's right, rain or shine, the City of Grande Prairie and all of our staff who are volunteering their time to be there will be down at Muskasippi Park from approximately 4:30 on with a barbecue. And we've made it work in the rain before. We'll make it work again. But it is really an opportunity, I've always believed, Municipal Government Day, to shine a light on the things that our city staff do day in and day out to make Grande Prairie a great place to live. We only get so many opportunities to highlight that. And certainly I think that that's the spirit of Municipal Government Day. But other than that, there's also a chance to sit in a fire truck, which is also really cool. You can get up into a grater. And if that's not your thing, there are always the free hot dogs and hamburgers. So I'd encourage residents to come down and help us celebrate Municipal Government Day Wednesday the 15th, starting about 4 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. At 4 p.m., thank you, down at Muskasippi Park, and would encourage everybody to bring their family down and join us for that day. That's all I had to say. Councillor Clayton, do you have something further?
Sorry, I just have one other quick thing. I wanted to welcome back City Manager Greg Trebek. We're happy to have you back and see you look well. So congratulations for mending and being back. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Clayton. Thank you very much for that reminder. Certainly, we're happy to have our leader back in Council Chambers. And Greg, good to see you on your unplanned vacation that was maybe not as relaxing as you might have liked, but certainly happy to have you back. Thank you very much, Councillor Clayton, for making that acknowledgement. And with that, we'll call our council meeting adjourned.